feel and where in bed.
How do you feel?
Where am this real? What's going on? Where am I? Am I awake? Do you still love me?
Hello, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, humans of Earth. It is a glorious night because we are here. It is the Overwatch All-Star Brawl, not number 1, not number 2, but number 3. And it's brought to you by me, Beanies. I'm coming at you with my buddy Poor Zach over here. Zach, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm pretty excited to kind of get this next season started.
Yeah, right. It's an interesting new season we got going underway. We got a little bit of a high stakes action coming at you. We got some high quality Overwatch coming your way. But before we step into this next game, let's take a quick step back and make sure everyone knows what to look for with this season. As we start today, October 2nd, we'll be making our way all the way through the month of October with 16 teams competing for a spot at number 1, splitting that sweet $400 cash prize. And over these next 4 weeks or so, we're going to see between these invited teams who's going to come out number 1. And first up tonight, we're going to have the boys and girls coming at us from 6ixGuns. We have their captain here right alongside us, Don Tony. How you doing, buddy?
How's it going? Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking to us, man. You know, how you feeling going into the first matchup, the opening match of the Overwatch All-Star Brawl this season?
I've never really been nervous for a tournament before, but this is like the first tournament I'm kind of a little nervous about, but I'm super excited though, so.
Oh yeah, you feeling the pressure a little bit, getting a little sweaty maybe?
A little.
Well, have you guys ever ran into your opponents today, Team 2? Have you ever played against these guys before?
I have not played against this team specifically, but I do know a couple of the players. They've jumped around from team to team, so I know a little bit of their play style.
Oh, so you know a little bit what to expect, but hopefully we'll get a nice little action-packed game coming from you guys. Speaking of which, I want to get a little idea of what exactly you're thinking about Overwatch right now, because it's a little hot topic. You know, a lot of people have their own opinions, but this current meta, are you liking it? Is your team liking it? Do you feel comfortable in it? What's your thoughts?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I think the meta right now is still in like kind of that MOBA-y play style that Goats was in. I'm not too much of a fan of it right now, but our team, we've never really been meta runners. We kind of like to run off meta stuff, so I'm not going to give away any strats for the match, but you guys should be excited to see what we play.
I'm excited already. That sounds like a good time. And I guess that might lead me into my next question. One more thing is we saw a few little interesting changes coming up on the PTR. Do you have any thoughts or any heroes you might be excited for with this next patch coming up with a few changes coming here and there?
I am a very avid monkey player, so I was super happy.
Man.
Super happy to hear the Winston changes. I play all the main tanks, but he's my favorite. So I don't know if he'll change the meta at all, but I hope it does. But either way, I like the monkey changes. So.
Oh, a man after my own heart. Well, I mean, I'm gonna end it on that one. Poor Zach, do you have anything you want to add to these questions?
I mean, you talked about earlier how you guys, this is really the first tournament you're nervous about. Obviously, so that means you've competed in other tournaments. What's kind of your preparation going into tournament?
We're not a team that really warms up together. We kind of get in our own zone because we all have different ways of doing it. Some of us just kind of listen to music before games. Some of us, just doing practice range. Some of us play ranks. So we like to let everyone do their own thing and not force anything on each other. But we scrim almost every single day. So and we've been trying to scout teams. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good thing to do. Let the players do their own thing and get themselves comfortable in a way getting ready to go into the match. So yeah, I'd say that really has to do it for my questions. Thank you so much for coming here and allowing us to interview.
Hey, thank you very much, guys.
Best of luck, man. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Well, that was the team captain from 6ixGuns, and so with that, hopefully we'll be getting into the matchup very shortly. Cool. You are a cool guy, but poor Zach.
Thanks.
First map we're going into is going to be Volskaya Industries. First map is Assault. So what are you thinking about this? How are you feeling about Volskaya Industries? Are we just going to see, the expected bunker composition with that Sigma or Orisa rolling out? What do you think?
I think that, you're always going to be seeing meta. That's why the meta, it's because it's something you usually play, something people are very used to. But I think if you wanted to kind of go with something a little bit more on the cheesy side, you can definitely run that Sim Bastion here. Going from high ground to high ground on Volskaya is very useful. And I mean, even if you weren't running on the offense, maybe if you try to get a speed boost over to the left side, hurry up, set that teleporter, or just use speed boost to go up there. And then being on the offense, you can then take over that high ground with the Bastion. So I think if we're going to see variations, that's a very likely.
Exactly. I agree. Something that could pop up as well. You know, we heard from Don Tony, these guys like to play a little off meta. Something I think could really add a little spark to them, add a little kick is if they throw a nice little, you know, full dive composition into there, you know, just get rolling with the hamster, you know, bring Hammond out. I think he could cause a lot of mayhem on the first point. If he can just get a nice little roll and disposition this bunker composition, that could be a really nice little way to roll up, excuse the pun, and start this off real strong for 6ixGuns.
Yeah, and I mean, while something is meta, you can always kind of go to different team compositions, whether that be the dive. But you just have to make sure that you're playing it perfectly, because when you're going up against something that's such a solid pick for the meta, it makes it so difficult, and you got to play almost 100% perfect, if not 100% perfect, to actually get value out of it. So I think that's just kind of a risk that the teams run, but whether they feel confident in it is completely up to them.
Well, I hope that both these teams are feeling confident, because they have their first matchup of this double elimination invitational tournament. 16 teams invited. One winner walks out with the $400 cash prize. Could it be one of these two? We'll find out at the end of the month. But very shortly, we're going to get into this first matchup between 6ixGuns and Team 2, Volskaya Industries. Hoorah. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Some teams I haven't seen. So I tried to do a little bit of research on them, but I couldn't quite find anything. So I'm going in here completely blind, don't know exactly what they feel super comfortable with, but, you know, I think that just kind of leads into a little bit more of a fun experience, kind of having that mystery of what they might run or what variations they may make.
Exactly. And we heard Don Tony talk about, you know, these guys might be running something a little different, something a little unique. And so it'd be nice to see a little spice coming from them, see what they're going to be whipping out. Yeah,
and I think it really can also come down to players' skill individually. Whether someone may be more of a main of an off-meta hero, which we have seen teams like that do really good in the past, especially in the Overwatch contender scene with Clockwork Vendetta. They were a team based off of pretty much all just one tricks, and they dominated the contender scene because they were all just so strong in their specific picks. So, I mean, that's always something that you can see going into matches like this. And right now, the defense, I mean, looking at it, it looks like they're going to have a Winston on defense.
Yeah, he talked about being a big monkey player. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm a monkey man myself. I love playing that Winston, so it's exciting.
Yeah, and I'm actually kind of curious here, too. It looks like they're going to run the Brig, which actually could be useful when the Winston does dive in, if you just use all of your deployable shields onto him, because then he gets that health over time, so he can be battling for maybe a little bit longer. But it's going to be a little bit tricky running in here, as Nick's going to be running the Reaper most likely, and the Doomfist as well from it's going to make it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, so I think someone we're going to have to pay attention to is Legola, seeing where this Brig chooses to use her stun. If she's going to choose to stun a Doomfist that gets a little too aggressive with his punch, maybe a Reaper teleports into the team a little too early and gets stunned out. This Brig is going to be a real threat, because you know, recently I was looking at the top leaderboards, and the #1 support was actually spent most of his hours on Brig. So I definitely think they have something coming up here, but Legola actually drops first. Maybe Caster Curse striking him down there a little early. Don Tony following up next. And this is just Wannabe and Nick following through, taking control of the point, and Team 2 is looking like Team #1 after a dominant push.
Yeah, and I think that's just kind of the risk that you run, pulling in that Brigitte and maybe even these dive-ish more heroes into that, because when they're jumping in, you really got to be careful as Brig. Your shield doesn't have as much health as it used to, so just a little bit of damage can dwindle it down really fast, and then you kind of just feel like a sitting duck. You can't shield bash. The best thing you got is that whip shot to try to get someone off of you and back away, and it can make it really hard going into a fight.
Yeah, and you don't have that kind of burst healing anymore. Your deployable pack is only a healing over time now, so it's definitely a little different to play around. You can't be as aggressive with a Brig on your team, and you have to acknowledge that slow burning heal. But Devil striking first, another strong offensive push coming in here from Team 2, as CJ and Wannabe are joining the kill feed fun as well. We're going to see if there's going to be any sign of life coming out from 6ixGuns. They have the off-meta composition, but instead they're going to be pushed off the point, and with 2 ticks taken, a Tracer gets on, a stick is thrown down, but a gold Devil looks so much better than a red one if you ask me. And with the rest of the staggers coming in, Nick pops his ultimate. The Death Blossom flows through. They get a Gravitic Flux from the Sigma, but it might be too little too late. And I think with 5 minutes on the clock, we're going to see Team 2 dominate and take Volskaya Industries.
That's a really impressive time getting in about 5 minutes, especially now with the changes where once you cap the first point, it only gives you an extra 3 minutes instead of the original 4. And capping in at about 5 minutes is just going to give you a lot of time to play with. So it just goes to show how strong this meta is, even when I'm sure that these players on Team 6 feel super comfortable running this Winston, the Brig, and the Tracer, that even when you go up against a meta pick, it can make it so much more difficult, and that may make them want to rethink their strategy when they're going to be going on this defense again. That is, if they're able to cap all the way through here on their offense.
Yeah, and I think you said it well earlier that the meta's meta for a reason. You know, it's the strongest heroes to pick. It's the strongest composition. And when you're running these off meta picks, you're accepting that and you're trying to say that your brain is bigger and your mouse movements and clicks are better. And
Yeah.
I don't think we saw that there.
Yeah, and now with them going on the offense here, since they ran something different on the defense, I also expect them to do something different on the offense, which looks like they will be doing here. But right now, let's take a look over the defense. Really the only change that is kind of off the meta was the Zen, but now they're switching back over to Lucio. Wow, I got baited
Yeah.
by the defense. That's not something.
I got baited too. I was curious because the Zen would have been a great pick into this Pharah, you know, had they known or if they were stream sniping. I'm looking at you guys. Don't you dare.
Come on, Team 6, you're better than this. No, but or I
Six
said Team
Guns.
6. I combined both the teams.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they should do. Maybe they should just take the best parts of each other and just merge together.
Well,
On
right now, the
side,
best
though-
parts of each other is just looking like Team 2, buddy.
Oh, okay. Ooh, quite a way to say it. But now on the offense here, the Pharah Mercy could actually be putting in a lot of damage here. Really, the only person that's going to be able to deal a consistent amount of damage to them is going to be probably that Moira, maybe the Orisa, if they feel really confident in leading their shots. An
Yeah.
accretion, that would have been nice to hit. But right now, it looks like the
Yeah.
Pharah's disassociated with Mercy.
I think they're going to be really dependent on the accretion right here. We'll have to see if they can get a nice, you know, rock pull combo coming out because that halt is such a strong ability. And this defense is looking a lot like an offense right now with how they're moving up. One trade coming out from both sides as we see 6ixGuns are looking for that entrance into the first point, but the defense holds strong, and Team 2, while they do lose 2 on the back end right now, this Pharah definitely causing problems, and you're not seeing proper coordination coming out from the tank line. And Death, 60% to that ultimate, looking real strong to just get them through this first point.
Yeah, and the issue is when they go into these fights, if they're able to take out that Doom, there's pretty much no one to be putting in all that damage on the low ground, and all they really have to worry about is the Pharah on the high ground, which they can just relatively ignore at some point in time by Sigma just throwing a shield right above them and going in. So they're gonna have to be really careful and make sure that they don't lose the Doom fast.
Yep, and speaking of, the two Doomfists look each other in the face and just run away from one another. Death, fortunately, takes out Wombi, and now Pharah is just raining hell from above. There is no response to this rocket storm, and we are going to see the slow but sure demolishing of this defense. The Coalescence comes in to just sure up those kills, and PG1 may make me eat my words, but the barrage does come out, and it takes out one, followed up with a kill onto Sigma, and with a Coalescence coming in from the defense, it might be too little too late, with only the support line left to hold here. And with 1.5 ticks taken, we're seeing a Doomfist come in late, go right up into the sky. That sends him right to the moon, I think, looking real fancy right there. And I think finally, after this Lucio does get dropped, Muffin Man will fall. We're going to see 6ixGuns take objective A on Volskaya.
Yeah, and a lot of ults got used there to try to hurry up and get that stall stopped. They were able to make it so now no matter what, they're going to have a worse time bake on the side of gosh darn it, of 6ixGuns. Okay,
You'll
there we
get
go.
it, I believe.
I'll get it eventually. The new teams, man.
I think I can.
But looking at the ultimates here, PG1 is gonna have their Flux. Muffin Man has the Sound Barrier. They just have so many ults right now on the side of Team 2, so they're gonna have to be careful on the side of 6ixGuns here going into it and make sure that if they do use these two ults here, that they are able to draw a lot out of the enemy.
Yeah, and so the use of these ultimates, like you mentioned, going to be incredibly important. The first one is thrown out, and the duel is thrown. The gauntlet is challenged, followed by a Gravitic Flux. Wannabe does take out Depth somehow with a grab slam, actually taking him out. We're going to see Nick follow with a kill down onto Don Tony, and this is just going to be the rest of Team 2 demolishing the offense. But
Yeah.
if you look at the ultimate charge, we do have 3 ultimates in the bank for 6ixGuns.
Yeah, but then we also got to look at the other side here at Team 2. They're about to have 4 coming up
Yeah.
here. And really, the only thing they don't have is the tank ultimates, and they have both their support ultimates, which is something that now 6ixGuns are lacking. So they're going to have to be really careful going in here with this. Maybe they want to try to combo that Flux and the Meteor Strike. It's a very strong combo, but it's really hard to initiate here, especially when you have the Sigma Shield that's able to be moved around. and trying to just play around that. So I think if they want to try to do something, that would be their best bet. But who knows? Death might try to come in with a combo as well with the Flux. We'll just have to see.
And they're gonna have to really account for this beat as well, because it's almost like an instantaneous response, similar to Goat's meta, really. The beat goes down when the Gravitic Flux goes up, and look, just like that, it happens. Wannabe also slams down, takes out one, and this is gonna be the offense sent back, running with their tails between their legs. Death is trying to do exactly what his name says, but unfortunately, he will be the one meeting the Grim Reaper. And with 3 minutes left, it looks like Team 2's defense is even stronger on Objective B.
Yeah, time now down to 3 minutes here. Still plenty of time to work with to be able to cap the point, but you gotta look at this ultimate charge right now. Neither team really has a lot of ults going into this next fight. So what are they gonna like to do on either side? Maybe they just produce some bulk damage and try to build up their ultimates, or maybe they try to just go in hard now, knowing that, okay, our goal right now is to just outskill them on the defense here and make sure that we're able to break through. So Death may want to use that barrage here if he sees a good opening, but if not, maybe he even wants to switch off and maybe go something else possibly. This point is a little bit harder for Pharah, so yeah.
We'll have to see though, because the Pharah does in fact whip out that barrage, looking to pick up some kills, recover this fight for her team. Does actually pick up one, will pay for it with her own life as Borlo picks Don Tony up from the grave. Coalescence comes out just a split second too late, but the offense is somehow salvaging this fight right now as 6ixGuns is putting in work. A Coalescence though is thrown out in response by CJ, and I think the second Coalescence is going to be the one that inflicts the most damage. We see Legola go down, and with a Valking Mercy, interesting ultimate usage, it's going to be 6ixGuns losing this fight with only 1 minute and 45 seconds left.
Yeah, and you see that when the Moiras use their Coalescence, usually if you're the Moira to just wait out the time and use your Coalescence maybe halfway through or towards the tail end of the other ones, and they didn't really get much value out of it, your Coalescence, because they have the feeling that they have to push now, and that because they use that, they need to put on more pressure to get it actually to work and see some value out of it, then your Coalescence is just going to seek so much value because of all that healing and damage you put through when they're rushing in and your teammates are getting low, and then your enemies are getting low because of Coalescence, or you're able to take them out, so you got to be really careful about using this.
Yeah, it's surprisingly a tricky ultimate just to time, because some people just do it on, reaction. It comes up so quick that, you just throw it out sometimes, don't think about it. But Death actually doesn't have to think twice about this one. Very high value on that barrage, and we're going to see 6ixGuns finally find their way into the offensive point with 1 tick taken, 2 tick taken. Can they get the third? Is there going to be any kind of touch coming in? And no!
Ooh.
Muffin Man barely misses out on getting to the defense, and we will in fact see 6ixGuns have a chance on the offense overtime.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Death was actually able to go around and just position themselves in a better position. Well, yeah, I guess I didn't need to say it twice there, but they got themselves in a good position so that way they can use that barrage. They were able to take out the Moira, and then from a far away angle, they were able to get the Orisa, and the Sigma Shield was nowhere in sight to try to stop them from getting any of that damage through or to possibly even go up and kill them. So they did a really good job finding a good angle and where to use that barrage, because it's a very tricky ultimate to use. It can be a death sentence in some sense.
Oh yeah, it can be a very baiting ultimate for not only yourself but for your team, everyone involved. You gotta make sure you get very high value out of it. I've seen way too many Pharahs chuck an ultimate from way too high up, and by the time the rockets hit the ground, they're already dead, and then nothing happened.
Yeah. And now, going on the offense here with only about a minute, they only are really gonna have 1 fight, maybe 2, depending on how fast the first one goes.
And that's going to take a lot of coordination to make
Yeah.
that into 2 fights.
It's going to be hard, but no one's going to have their ults up, so I think that's where it's really going to come down to who has the better picks. They're going to go with the Pharah Mercy again, which could be good, as long as they're able to make sure that they're getting angles from behind, but the shields that way. Maybe they have to try to split the shields up, so it makes it a little bit easier for them to focus fire onto one specific shield for the rest of the team, and then they're able to go in through like that, possibly.
Well, they know what was the keys to success last time. Death on the Pharah. So they're going to stick back with that. Try and keep him from just getting sniped down. All he has to really worry about is going to be that Accretion Hulk combo. There was no preparation for this. You'd think that they'd expect this to happen. So we'll have to see what happens. And, actually, Pharah's not too deadly if she doesn't have a pocket behind her, but Hidden Shadow takes out his counterpart, will pay for it with his life ultimately, and now the defense is going to come out strong. And Depp, he just has to get out or die because they are only at 20 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, and I mean, Death is so close to that ultimate right now. He's probably not going to decide to make the switch. I mean, if they're just able to put in just a little bit more damage, he's the closest one to the ultimate. He's probably going to be the only person to get their ultimate within the next time. So they just got to make sure that they're able to hurry up and get on to that point there. Hidden Shadow's going to have to be the one to touch the Doomfist, which isn't really something you want because he's probably going to go down really quick with the focus fire, as you can see them rotating around the point.
And so here it is, the fight that could be the last offense for 6ixGuns. They're going all out, they're going full throttle, and they strike first. Hisuya, a nice accretion, taking out Wabi on the Doomfist, but will Hinshao pay for it as well? He does in fact get taken down, and Nick does respond with a kill on the Lego, but Death will get dropped after using that barrage. We talked about it. It's a death sentence if you don't use it properly, and we see he does in fact pay for it with his life, but it could have been enough to keep this fight going for them. Unfortunately though, Reaper is still a hero, he is still deadly, and that will be a full hold from Team 2.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to try super hard on the offense here when you only have a minute to work with. It makes it super difficult. And then, of course, their time started running down after they lost the first fight. They had to go back in. Luckily, the Doomfist was able to just get in, get out really quick, and not really die, which is pretty big. Then the picks started going back and forth, but they were able to build up the coalescence on the side of Team 2 defense, and just slowly but surely able to restabilize and take that point without giving up.
And now it's going to be Team 2's opportunity. Mike just fell right there. Yikes.
Unfortunate.
Unfortunate, buddy. But it's Team 2's opportunity to get themselves a 1-0 series lead here. And all they need is one tick. All they need is a third of the point in 5 minutes. That's ridiculous, Zach.
Yeah, that's a lot of time to work with. You could basically just stack ults maybe 2-3 times completely. Just have a full 6 ult roster and try to do it like that. They're going to be running the same defense here on the side of 6ixGuns, which did go down relatively fast last time. So they're going to have to make sure that they play this perfectly here because, like you said, they only need one tick and they have 5 minutes to play with. It's going to make it really difficult for the defense, but I mean, just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's not doable.
And so this is going to be an opportunity for 6ixGuns to really hunker down and show us that their choice of going Monkey, Brig and Tracer is going to pay off. I touched on earlier, the only way to make that Brig work is to stun one of the DPS and get high value from the aggression that they have. But will they even get the opportunity, as we see? Team 2 sneaks around, and look at that Death. Just waiting there, gets picked off, 5v6. This doesn't look very good, Zach.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. They knew exactly what they were going to do. They ran the same defense before, so they were expecting it that time. Now, going into the fight, already down 1, 6ixGuns is going to have a really tough time.
Yeah, Legola falls next. It's just going to be one after another at this point, as Hisuya is the next one to fall. Bordel's going to be soon after. Don Tony trying his best to get in there, and with Death trying to ignite any sort of flame he can, he will get dropped, and we will see Team 2 win Volskaya and take a 1-0 series lead.
Yeah, Team 2 looking really confident right now in these meta picks. I mean, they just seem to be really showing up here with that, making sure that they aren't really straying too far from it. Maybe they decide to go something a little bit different. In this match, they decided not to. But, I mean, honestly, that played in their favor. They were super comfortable looking on this meta. And you can see right there, PG1, I don't know if it went through on the stream, but he got a really good kill onto that Pharah that was flying, or the Mercy that was flying away. So that definitely made that fight a easier win.
Earlier in the round, actually, I was writing down how many times PG1 had missed his accretion. And I think he missed 5 rocks in a row. And I was going to critique him on that, kind of like what I'm doing now. But after that second half performance, I think he definitely picked it up on the Sigma and, you know, definitely pulled his weight to help his team get that convincing first map victory.
Yeah, and I think that part of that has to do with because, like, with your accretion, you always got to, like, try to hit something with it. You know, you never just want to throw it out there aimlessly. But I think that when he was able to use it, that he just was able to seek as much value out of it as possible, whether it was getting a stun onto the Reaper that was slowly getting in, or, I mean, you can try to throw it at the Pharah. It doesn't happen very often. Like, I've only ever hit a Pharah once with the accretion. I take that back twice.
Hey, man,
it's
super difficult. It's a nice feeling. It's a really good feeling.
It's a good feeling when you do it, but it's a super hard skill shot to hit. So, I mean, whether it's reliable or not really. But, I mean, it could always happen. You know, why not?
I think the best way to make it happen is just really having that synergy between the tanks and just getting that timing for the halt accretion combo. Because when you're playing it, if you just time that perfectly and you suck in the Pharah, she has no response to it, and she'll just fall to her death in most situations.
Those are really nice.
They're really nice. It's really pretty. If you guys haven't seen them, make sure you look up a compilation. I'm sure that's somewhere, and if not, make it yourself.
Yeah, and I think that does really show how the Orisas play such a big role in the lineup because they are kind of like just a supporting tank. And for the most part, they put up their big shield, everyone sits behind it, and they just kind of shoot at the other person's shield or look for hults. The hults is the biggest thing. If you're not able to pull people well and understand how to, then you're going to be pretty much not getting any value out of your Orisa, relatively speaking, because it's just such a powerful thing to do, whether it's you're comboing with the Doomfist Punch or the Accretion with like a far in the air or someone just getting in behind the back line. You stop a Doomfist from getting out, you know, that's pretty big. You know, those are definitely things that you want to see your Orisa doing, and we saw a little bit of that during this matchup.
And I think another point to touch on, adding on to what you said, is the halt. I mean, not the halt. The stand your ground by Orisa, the gold form, the heightened defense, anti CC. You know, super hard to kill Orisa is if you blow that cooldown first, you really become a vulnerable target for the Reaper, for the Doomfist to just focus down. So seeing how these Orisas use these cooldowns is going to be really big on how they go forward, and if we can see any kind of comeback start to mount for 6ixGuns.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're able to see someone who's definitely pulling off some crazy strats, whether it's just comboing with a teammate or whether they're just popping off all by their own, make sure to go down below and vote for your MVP of the match, of course. It's something we always do, and it's always something a little bit fun, something to get the viewers more interacted with the game, you know? So don't forget to go down below and vote for your MVP of the match. We're only one in, but of course we can still continue on, and as we continue on, we're going to be heading over to Busan.
Yeah, it's time to shine here at Busan. I believe this is a Sanctuary, I think it's called.
Yeah,
Yes.
I always forget like the...
See, I just remember it by...
mapping.
I just remember it as the drum. It's Busan drum
that,
to me.
Yeah, I think that's what most people think, honestly.
So Busan drum, it's gonna be probably Orisa expected composition coming out here from Team 2. But do you think there's wiggle room here for 6ixGuns to pull out that pseudo dive they pulled out on Volskaya? Is there any kind of space for that?
I think it's gonna be hard. It looks like maybe they're gonna go over to the Pharah and the Sim.
Ooh,
so
Sim.
if they want to do something with that.
Ooh, but look at Wannabe.
They were on the Widow for a little bit before, so I'm not expecting that too much here.
I'm excited to see if he can take out that Pharah, though. It's going to be interesting. He's going to be having a chance to get some headshots. Not too many times does a Widowmaker get to shoot anything outside of a shielded enemy. So,
but they are going to.
He might have some fun. Oh man, never mind. He baited me, man. Wannabe just back in Doomfist jail.
Now, something I've noticed is that they've decided to go with a Mercy instead of a Lucio because they're running that far every time. And actually, this time they use the Symmetra Teleporter to get like a little bit of a speed boost outside of spawn, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes people just forget to take it. I've seen people just try to pop that TP, be a nice support player, and the next thing you know, your whole team just doesn't click it. But CJ, being the support player we all want, getting the nice kill there onto the other support, taking out Bortles Mercy, and that's going to be a 5v6 in the favor of Team 2. 6ixGuns, though, holding their ground, continuing this fight, even down one member, and they get booped into the point with Don Tony getting bumped around. Kisuya also getting bopped around, and we're going to see Team 2 control the point and send 6ixGuns back to spawn.
Yeah, a little bit of a Bill Cosby there. Boop bop, bitty bop.
Yeah, boop bop, boop boop bop, Jello pudding.
Jello pudding. Anyways, but yeah, no. So after that first fight, losing that Mercy right off the bat makes it super hard for the Pharah to put in as much damage as possible, and they were just slowly able to just go at it. Now CJ, really the only person on the field with his ultimate right now. Death actually not too far behind in the ultimate percentage. He's definitely been putting in a lot of damage here, but it's just securing those kills that seems to be the issue right now.
Yeah, Pharah does a hell of a job at lowering targets, but if you don't get those direct hits or successive attacks, then you're not going to get those kill secures. And CJ getting a kill secure of his own, taking out Don Tony, going to be one down for the side of 6ixGuns. Legola taking out Wannabe, of even trade overall, but because of point presence, because of an additional kill, we're going to see Team 2 push back the offense, and we're going to have only 40% left for a 1-0 map score on Busan.
Yeah, I mean, they still got another fight, maybe two. I think they're probably going to have one going into it.
Yeah, it depends how
right now is going to make that a little bit harder now. But I think that now going into this, they have so many ults right now on the side of Team 2 that it's going to make it nearly impossible to get in here. You really don't have anything to combat that Sigma ultimate, which can make it super valuable. And if someone gets hit in the air when they're at like close to half health, as soon as they hit that ground, they're either going to be half health or they're going to be dead. So that's something you got to really be careful of when you're not running that Lucio.
Yeah, and hopefully you don't have to see what Hidden Shadow looks like when he smacks you in the face, because you'll be more than just half dead. He slams down using that ultimate, but he does in fact get dropped by Nick right there, as overtime does tick down, and we do have to see if Team 2 can hold down the defense, because 6ixGuns, this is going to be their last fight of this round. If they do not pull out a victory here, Coalescence is used. We see a beat drop alongside the Gravitic Flux. We see Death Blossom thrown out as well. All the ultimates are being hit. Everybody's hitting Q right now. It seems like they forgot what that button was, but we do have a last moment Death Barrage. Not going to do too much though, and we're going to finally see Team 2 control this point, get themselves a round 1 victory on Busan, and get even closer to securing a series victory here, bud.
Yeah, I mean, taking the 100-0 right there on that map, you got to feel pretty good about that.
Oh, yes.
When it came down to it, though, that last fight, they were able, on the side of 6ixGuns, to get the first pick, and they actually got the bongo out fairly fast. But with how many ultimates were on that side of Team 2, it just made it almost... It felt like it was almost impossible to try to get anything done there, because it was just ult, and you don't really have too many ways to counter them when you don't have ult of your own, or if you may not have a certain ability up at the time. So that can make it super difficult going into fights like that, and I think that's kind of what we just saw there, that they just didn't quite have the utility to be able to combat those ultimates.
Hopefully this time around they're going to be able to at least prepare themselves more for these ultimates. Maybe their ult tracking needs a little work. Maybe they need someone to step up their game mentally and, you know, mechanically, because they're faltering in both sides of the field right now. But
Yeah.
the levels will be split. An interesting approach right now coming in from the guys and gals over at 6ixGun. Look at where they're holding.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot, and right
And
now
look at
they're
where
kind
the
of just giving up
monkeys-
the point percent.
What?
I don't know when they're exactly going to decide to go out. I imagine now. Yeah, they can see him through the window, though, so they have to be careful.
And we have to see if this was a big brain strat, and it looks promising so far. CJ does drop to that flanking monkey. Death falls in with a kill down on the PJ1, and man, it may have looked weird. It looked kind of funky, but that was a promising first attack. They just have to finish off these kills, and Legola finally getting a chance to perform the kills on Brig and not just get killed. Kudos to him. Sorry for doing that to you, buddy. Caster Curse strikes yet again.
Yeah, but I mean, right now the fight's so back and forth still, and it looks like the ones that are going to be able to kind of sustain themselves on the point here might just be Team 2. But now that I say that, going down the Moira isn't very good for them.
Yeah, it's literally just back and forth. This is still the first fight. Nobody's really had total control of the point yet. It's just swinging back and forth, and these respawns are coming in. We have 4 members from 6ixGuns. Now we have only 3 members from 6ixGuns responding. Team 2, they have almost their entire lineup until PG1 does fall, and now for some reason we're gonna see 6ixGuns just wake up and light that kill feed up. A nice accretion, suns out wannabe, and finally 6ixGuns win the first fight and take control of the point.
Yeah, I mean, and what a long fight it was. That had to be going on for a little over a minute there. Ults just coming up on both sides, being used every now and then. And I mean, finally able to secure
Hidden
the point.
Shadow is on his second pulse bomb.
Yeah, I mean, those Tracers are able to build their ultimates quick, and especially with the new PTR patches coming up, they're also going to be doing it then. And that's also something I kind of want to look at with this team, because they do have a few that are going to be getting changed pretty soon here.
Yeah, so maybe this patch is, you know, them practicing their training arc, and next patch is just going to be like the full tournament arc when they have all their heroes. But they're getting real excited for that right now, because their DPS are popping off. Hidden Shadow on the Tracers looking so good. Hisuya carrying his team right now on this Sigma, using that Gravitic Flux to perfection.
Yeah, the Gravitic Flux
these
is
guys
so
are,
powerful.
These guys look like they really want to be playing the heroes that are going to be coming big next patch. You know, that Tracer, that Monkey, these guys are going to be ready to play once, you know, next week rolls around.
Yeah, and I mean, you can do somewhat of a dive with these characters, and like I said earlier, with that Brig, you know,
Look at where they are again, dude.
provide all that assistance with the shields, and they're just trying to give up ground, so that way they force them onto the low ground, I imagine, to go to point, and then that's when they strike, so that way there's really no high ground advantage for them. But
Yeah,
they're
but
going
look
to
at where
almost go to
Don-
point.
Every time Don is just lying in wait, ready to strike, ready to pounce. looking like the gorilla straight out of Tarzan, but unfortunately for him, he gets punched right into a wall. His whole team just crumbles around him, and this defense may have looked nice, cheeky, and a little bit promising, but ultimately Team 2 muscles their way through and gets control of the point for the first time here on Mecha Base.
Yeah, and I think that just shows how Team 2 is always kind of ready for these engagements. You saw it when they were going on the, when 6ixGuns was on the defense for the second time on Volskaya. They knew what they ran. They looked around. They didn't see anybody. So they're like, okay, they're running the same thing. They were able to pull that Doomfist in, who was sitting around the stairs over on the far right. And then they were just slowly able to take the point like that. So I imagine going into that fight, they also had that same sense of, okay, we know what's going on. We know what to expect. This is how we're going to combat it.
And now we're going to have to see what the mental fortitude of 6ixGuns looks like. Do they have the same perseverance? As we see the Gravaic Flux and Beat combo is used. Ultimates responding to one another. PG1 though does take out his counterpart in Hisuya. It's going to be a 6v5 now in the favor of Team 2. The Death Blossom is thrown out and Nick will get a bunch of damage down but not pick up any kills as Don Tony does in fact strike down PG1. No Sigmas left on the field. Slam is used. Hidden Shadow takes out Magic 8-Ball. Nick is taking out Don Tony, but I think we're finally going to see what looks like Team 2 losing the point. And with 80% controlled, this might be 6ixGuns getting their first positive round so far.
Yeah, there's only one more fight left. Devil with that bongo could be the thing that changes the tides, but only time will tell. They're close to a coalescence as well with the bongo. That can put through a lot of damage. But, of course, losing your Orisa right at the start there is not something you want to see.
Oh man, that was so unfortunate. He gets booped off, he gets rocked away, and Hisuya and Death just get to have their way with the rest of his team. The poor boys and girls on Team 2 are going to lose their lives, lose Mecha Base, and we're going to a round 3 on Busan right after this dang ball just stops stalling the point.
Yeah, but he's going to stall it as long as he can. He knew he wasn't able to get there with the Orisa, so slowly, as much time as he can take, he'll get, but it wasn't enough time. And looking at it, I mean, I feel like 6ixGuns now have kind of clicked with this composition and have kind of found a good way to reinforce themselves with it, you know? And going into this next part, I mean, you're probably going to see the same team comp. I wouldn't expect them to switch off and go anything else. But I think here is probably going to be even better for them because it just kind of feels open. So if they do decide to go over to the point, you still have that kind of a low ground, and they can even take the high ground themselves here with this high ground above the point, kind of spanning around the whole side except for the back where you know, of course, get knocked off into that train, which is something you don't want to do. But I think looking at it right now, you're seeing your usual meta pick over on the side of Team 2, and of course, 6ixGuns running their little I don't know. I don't really know what to call it. I wouldn't quite call it a dive, but it's definitely a variation of it, I guess.
Yeah, a dive variant. We'll leave it at that. But we'll have to see if they are as practiced as they appeared to be on Mecha Base, because that was the first map where they looked like they were able to compose themselves and really, you know, use a strategy. Because on the other maps, they didn't really seem too prepared. They just kind of ran in and saw what happened with the fights. But now on Sydney Center, we're gonna have to see if they can manage to get themselves a first fight victory yet again. Hopefully a little less time will take, as Death and Hidden Shadow actually do finish off 2 kills early on. Bortle getting 2 himself, lighting up that kill feed. Good job, support. We like to see that happen. And yeah, even quicker than last time, we're going to see the boys and girls on 6ixGuns get themselves an opening fight win.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at it, the way they go in, they all come in from different angles. So you're going to be moving that shield around a bunch, so you don't have a reliable shield in one specific spot. So because you're moving it around, it just lets all that damage go through. And we see PG1 actually switching over to the Hog to kind of counter it. And it looks like he's going to be able to take out Don Tony, which is a big pick to start off. Yeah,
the Hog is a pure counter pick to that Winston. They realize he's an issue and they have to deal with him. And now it might have paid off, but the damage is coming through. The DPS are lighting it up right now. It's just a back and forth action between the 4 DPS players from both these teams. Only one left standing from Team 2. Nick has to put the team on his back with Hidden Shadow and Death just laying in the punches. And we see Don Tony get his way back here on Monkey. And finally, 6ixGuns hold off the offense. And now at 50% almost, they're looking at only a few more fights to get themselves a map win.
Yeah, they've been doing pretty good here. They really got to watch out for this halt and hook now, though, knowing that it's something that could be coming out at any point in time. Could be scary, but of course they were able to win still, even though they lost that Monkey off the bat there. So if they're able to knock down these people fast.
Ooh, Hidden Shadow, Death, each getting kills. Wannabe trying to make sure that his team stays alive, but not much can be done when you're doing it all alone. He gets one. Oh, but Nick decides, let me help you out, buddy. PG1 gets a kill too, and now we finally see Team 2 get themselves onto the point.
Yeah, and D'Antoni's just going to jump down there and stall for as long as he can. He was probably hoping to build up his primal to do a little bit of a stall there, but wasn't quite able to get it just in time. So now looking at it, I mean, ultimate-wise, it's looking fairly even. We are going to have, from the side of 6ixGuns, Primal, Sound Barrier, Pulse Bomb, and the Flux versus Bongo, Sound Barrier, the Whole Hog, and the Coalescence. So 4 for 4 alts going up against each other here. I imagine that maybe they want to initiate with the Flux and try to draw out that Lucio Sound Barrier and then start going in a little bit more aggressive. But whatever they decide to do here, we'll see.
And we see the first ultimates are used. Gravitic Flux, Bongo, Coalescence, Tracer Pulse Bomb. Everyone's just hitting Q right now, and there is no holds barred left here because this is a do or die situation as we see Team 2 getting themselves a nice defense here. The beat is used. D'Antoni just in fact respawned with that ultimate. Didn't get it off before he died, and Team 2 holding this defense out strong. They're at 50% now themselves.
Yeah, now you still have a few more fights going in here. Even if 6ixGuns were to cap it back, there would still be probably another fight or two before the time would go up and the round would be given to someone. But looking at the alts now, you have the Whole Hog and the Meteor Strike versus the Primal and the Meteor Strike, which, of course, one would cancel out the other, but depending on how well they use the Meteor Strikes, of course. But I think a big thing is this Whole Hog is just going to completely destroy the Primal Winston.
Oh my god, that whole hook combo was so clean. Devil and PG1 showing some teamwork right there. That was so impressive, so well timed. And look at that, because of that kill, we are in single fight territory now. This is do or die right now for the boys and girls on 6ixGuns.
Yeah, and I think there's really not too much to initiate with. Maybe D'Antoni jumps in, but it looks like good to use Hidden Shadow to just kind of touch the point, try to get it to stall out. They have to drop down, of course, to contest that point, and now's where they move in.
And we see the backline is in fact being dove. Hidden Shadow takes out Devil, and with the Whole Hog coming out, Magic 8 Ball does in fact take counterpart with a Doomfist slamming down. Death takes out one. Hisuya, I guess, kills himself from his own explosives with Wannabe taking out Legola. It looked like for a moment Team 2 could win it, but off the back of their own teammate dying to his own accord, I think we're going to see the boys, Team 2 actually win it and 6ixGuns actually lose it. Oh, mix them up right there. But in fact, Team 2 does take it. And now Team 2 has a 2-0 series lead. Whew.
Yeah, and I mean, that was a pretty scary one at the end there. Really, I feel like that round could have gone either way. We saw the start of Busan where it was 100-0, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay, so is this just going to be a repeat of Skya? But then we went over to the next map on Mecha Base, and we saw that 6ixGuns was able to hold their own and actually get that round. And then going into this one, it also felt like it was getting very close there. You know, it just kind of feels like whoever has the better sustain, and right now it seems like Team 2 kind of has that better sustain when it comes to these longer, drawn-out fights. But when you're going through a really quick fight, I mean, if you see a fight go quick, it's probably because 6ixGuns are able to make it go quick, you know? So I think that's just going to want to be what they focus on, is making sure that they're able to pick off people fast, because if they're not picking off someone fast, the sustain's just going to show up there for Team 2, and they're just going to be able to turn the fight all the way around back into.
I think something that we should take note of too is that Team 2, they've really bounced back well. They had a moment where they really just like faltered. They lost Mecha Base pretty convincingly, and when that happened, it was really just like they could either crumble and fall and lose their opportunity to come back, or they could hold strong and get themselves a victory, and they did a great job at getting it.
Yeah, I mean, they made the switch off the Sigma over to the Roadhog, which is a really good call there, because that Winston is just able to put all the damage through the kinetic grasp. So it's like, what's the point in running him really if you can't really do much with that? So they went over to the Hog, and the Hog now, you can do the pull hook combo, which they were able to pull off successfully a few times there. And also the fact that he has his take a breather, so that relieves some of the stress from the Moira of having to make sure that everybody's healed up all the time. And it creates just a little bit more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit more of a defense feel to it, where I feel like Sigma, you can do a bit more offense. It makes it a little bit harder. But I think that they did a really good job making that swap there. It was definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really hard, it's a hard thing to do for people that I guess don't practice it or aren't, actively thinking, what would be a good swapper if they prepared picks to swap around with. It's really, it takes a talented person to be able to think about that while handling all the other responsibilities you'll have in a team game of Overwatch rather than, a comp queue game. But
yeah, absolutely.
As I say that, it looks like we're going to be getting our next map and possibly our last map of this series. Depends what 6ixGuns have to say about it. We're going to be going to Kings Row. And Kings Row, I've loved this map since launch. But Zach, what are you thinking? Is this still a playground for that Monkey Tracer and Brig comp to shine?
I don't think it is. Dive was never really that good on Kings Row either. Kings Row was always just kind of been that staple Zarya Rhyme,
Yeah.
but
Even
since
in
we have the
dive
Stone
meta, it
Shield,
was like if
it just made it super difficult. Yeah, and I think we aren't going to be seeing that if they do decide to run it, and it'd be a miracle if it worked. To be honest with you, I would be flabbergasted if they were actually able to pull it off somehow. But I think that they might start running the Pharah again. I can see the Pharah on the offense here if they decide to do that. Maybe we see a match
Pharah.
but not really
I
sure.
definitely think the Pharah would be a good pick, at least first two objectives of this map. Excuse me, tongue-tied. But pushing through the first two objectives with Pharah is very, I don't want to say easy, but it's definitely nice having, all the cover you can have with the rooftops, dancing around them, being able to peek over, then hide back under, etc. She has a lot of, aerial cover to work with in this map.
Yeah, and I mean, it takes a good Pharah to know when to use that cover and when to get aggressive. And I think the Pharah that we've seen so far has been doing a fairly good job. They've been putting in a lot of damage, but it's just about securing those kills. So maybe if they do decide to run the Pharah, maybe they also run that Winston Tracer as well on the side, and maybe take out either, I think probably the Brig and keep the Lucio for the speed boost. If they wanted to try to do something like that, I feel like that could work really well. But here on the defense, they are running that kind of staple, what they've been doing sort of thing, which, I mean, honestly, looking at it, and people have been talking about the PTR a lot, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a composition that we might see be getting run more.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting because PTR is one thing, but once it hits live servers and people are playing in environments with actual, competition, people actually trying, it's a whole different ball game because you can have a whole PTR meta on its own, but once it gets into the real game, that's a whole different kind of echelon you're entering. And speaking of that, we might be entering a whole new echelon for these boys and girls on 6ixGuns. They might be finding themselves their first map victory here, or Team 2 is going to walk out with a clean, easy 3-0 sweep. Speaking of the latter, making their way through a little cheeky route, getting into the back for a nice early engage here.
Yeah, and right now it's making it hard for 6ixGuns actually to kind of do that dive that they want, because they're moving so well as a unit inside these small spaces that as soon as they do decide to go in with the dive, that they're probably going to get taken out. But it is draining some time off the clock while they're playing.
Oh man, look at Legola left out of position, and look at that. Wannabe finds Legola. They find the crack in the armor, and just like that, it's a 6v5 with this bunker set up on the point. It is going to be so incredibly hard to find any way to take this back, and for some reason it looks like 6ixGuns are just giving it to them.
Yeah, they just want to give up a little bit of that percentage, I guess, to maybe try to get the Brig back, but looks like it might not play out in their favor.
Yeah, they give one, take one, and now it's ultimately going to be what looks like a losing effort for this defense. They have a few members low on Team 2, but they can't finish off the kills. They can secure the tank line to drop, and Wannabe holding 2 members off on his own. It's just going to take the rest of the team following up after Don Tony falls, and we're going to see Streets phase of Kings Row very short.
Yeah, a relatively fast take on the first point in Kings Row. They were able to stall it a little bit of time because they were kind of just running around playing a weird game of cat and mouse. But what I wish I would have seen 6ixGuns be a little bit more aggressive. I feel like they're way too timid with their dives. Like it feels like they're waiting to do a counter dive, which when the other team isn't playing a dive, trying to play a counter dive doesn't really work out too well. So I think they just need to be more aggressive with their picks. If they're going to go this composition, use that speed boost, use your Winston jump, use your blinks, and get in there. Start the fight off. Don't wait for them to come to you. Go to them first.
And now the payload making its way through second point. We have a sneaky little hold. We've come to expect these kinds of holds from 6ixGuns up here at the brewery. Tongue twister word right there, but PG1 takes out his counterpart very quickly. See a little bit out of coordination with his team, dropping slightly too early. Ultimately, Nick is going to take out Bortle, giving them an advantage, and now the offense is going to look so promising here as they have a fight almost entirely secured, and maybe not even have to have another one for the rest of this point.
Yeah, and I mean, slowly but surely taking down all of 6ixGuns here. Team 2 slowly rolling through with a lot of time on the bank. It's going to be hard for them to come back here and try to hold this second point off if they do decide to do so. It doesn't look like they're quite grouped up yet to do that, but of course, still a little bit of time on the clock. Looks like they're going to elect to do that, maybe? Yeah, it looks like they're about to be going in here. The Tracer, I think, is going to be the one to touch, but they got to be really careful right now because of this Death Blossom and Bongo combo on top.
Here's the Bongo. Here is the Doomfist ultimate. It's coming down on top of the entire team, and there's going to get 1 kill for is out Devil, but PG and Wannabe followed with 2 kills of their own, and it's going to be a well-fought defense for 6ixGuns, but they cannot finish the job. And Team 2, they looked a little weak on control, but they want to re-cement their domination here on Kings Row.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at it now, they did use a lot of ults on the side of Team 2, so looking at the ult advantage now heavily over on the side of 6ixGuns here, but they just got to make sure they don't overcommit and keep their ult economy in a good position here, because Team 2 can absolutely just come back in after that lost fight if they overcommit ults on the side of 6ixGuns, and then they can just put all their ults in, but they're just slowly pushing it up here because, of course, they're waiting for that dive, so they wait for them to come in close, which I think has really just kind of been screwing them over.
Yeah, and here we go. Gravitic Flux is used. 3 members of the backline hit, and the beat comes down just at the perfect time, narrowly avoiding all damage coming down. The Gravitic Flux, such a deadly ultimate. Doomfist calculated and saw his ultimate coming perfectly. PG1 barely avoids death right there, gets stuck with a pulse bomb, and he will barely avoid dying until his pocket does in fact get dropped as well. That's 2 members from Team 2 that are going to fall, and 6ixGuns, for the first time in the entire map, they're going to win themselves a fight and stabilize here on defense.
Better late than never, but right now they got to make sure they still clear everybody off a point. They're going to elect to just hurry up, get off, get done with that fight, get ready to go back into
Go on and get.
And PG1 is switching over to the Hog again. That he did on Busan for the second.
They're really just targeting this monkey right now.
Yeah, and I mean,
And the Doomfist.
the monkey is a big issue, and going into this fight, I think they're just going to be looking for a quick pull hook. If they notice that over in the side, Death is here. Death
Oh,
might get
what
the
are you
cover.
doing, Don? Oh man, Don Tony playing a cheeky little monkey does in fact get picked off. Questionable choice of positioning right there, as Wannabe also joins in, gets a kill. Death falls down and meets his own death with a nice hook to the face. The beat is dropped as Bortle realizes this is a back against the wall do or die moment for his team. They need the mountain defense. They need to stop this offense right now, because if they do not, they will have a tall task ahead of them, as they are just looking for any sort of kills to come their way, but none will fall. Magic 8 Ball and PG1 are the ones picking them up for Team 2. Finally though, Hinshallow picks up a kill. Ultimately though, Nick does in fact get a Death Blossom to finish off the kills with the Bongo. A hook comes in, nice measure, nice kill. See you later. Team 2 gets themselves a victory here on Kings Row. Excuse me, not victory. Gets themselves a nice push though. Got a little ahead of myself.
It definitely feels like a victory for them. I'm sure they're able to cap it all the way and with a good amount of time in the bank. So now that puts a lot of pressure on the 6ixGuns. Because now 6ixGuns, they have to cap the point. They got to make it all the way to the end, and they have to have it with time on the clock. Otherwise, they're playing for a draw or a loss. They have no opportunity to win if they don't get it there with time on the clock. So a lot of pressure being put on them right now. If they're going to decide to go, though, it's going to be very interesting.
And it's always so hard being the team that defends first, because on one hand, you can set the tone, you know, nice full hold, you get an easy, you know, 1 tick cap to win the game right away. Like, that feels great. But on the other hand, you get something like this and you realize, like, the mountain you got ahead of you. You realize you have to finish out the map, and you can only afford to lose maybe like 3 or 4 fights if you want to have the advantage in the time bank.
Yeah, and you see on the offense here that they might be running something. I'm not quite sure if they would want to run the Pharah Bastion together. I assume that the Pharah is going to try to take some of the pressure off, so that way the Bastion can go set up somewhere, but it looks like Legola is going to go over to the Lucio, which is something I would have preferred to see at the start there. So that way you could hurry up and get over on the side. Looks like switches are still coming through. The defense, though, they're not playing the exact meta. They are using that Hog instead, so they're going to be prepared for somewhat of a dive going into it if they do decide to do that. But with the Bastion,
it's the pre-Sigma bunker, you know? They're sophisticated gentlemen.
A man of class.
Exactly. He knows the old bunker, the real bunker, the OG bunker.
Back in my day.
We do have, back in my day, young whippersnapper. But we do actually have Don Tony here on the Orisa. Something you didn't expect, but considering the meta, I feel like we should have by now. He realizes, you know, that monkey may not be working too hot for them, and that Hog doesn't look too hot into this double shield composition.
And something that I just realized is really good, actually, is that since they're not running that Sigma and they ran the Hog expecting that dive, this Bastion is going to be getting a lot of value. He only has one shield to go through, and they don't have a kinetic grasp to kind of stop him. So really what they're going to be relying on is just rotating around the point, making sure they're out of line of sight of the Bastion, or maybe Magic 8 Ball is going to go up at the top and try to get some boops off, but that's going to be a tall task.
And on the other hand, like, how does this Hog get through those shields? There's 2 shields, each of them having about, actually it's 900 on the Orisa and about 1500 on the Sigma. That's 2400 damage of shields Hog needs to get through before he can even hook the Bastion. You know, good luck to that one, my friend. And we see with this Bastion set up on the high ground, Nick is trying to salvage the fight for his teammates, but Don Tony just bunkered down, getting a nice tick right there, setting up on the point for his team. Bortle dropping very low as Wannabe takes out the Pharah, and that's just going to be a little bit of an inconvenience as we see the res coming in. Bortle gets his teammate up, and finally, Team 2 is going to be pushed back by the efforts of 6ixGuns.
Yeah, and I mean, I was talking about how earlier the sustain was so much more in the favor of Team 2. That was just purely because of, I guess, the compositions they were running. So now that they're running this Bastion, I mean, if they're not taking out that Bastion fast on the side of Team 2, then 6ixGuns is going to have the better sustain in fights. And the longer a fight's drawn out, the more and more it's just going to favor them because their spawn's closer to the point. Plus, they're going to have way more damage coming through if they keep that Bastion.
Ooh, Death taking out CJ. This just looks like a totally different game we're seeing right now. This is just Team 2 having the map dictated to them by 6ixGuns. Definitely a change of pace for this series, but the ink was on the wall, you know, with that Busan map. We did see that life come out of 6ixGuns against Team 2 that, you know, they definitely showed they could do it. It was just a matter of picking up all the pieces and putting them together properly.
Yeah, and now that they've kind of switched over to the Mei, I'm guessing to displace that Bastion here, you're going to want to be really careful that they use the accretion on the far, but they got actually the mercy from it.
How does Nick take that? That's an interesting kill secure by the Reaper. With the amplification matrix being dropped, not much value going to come from it thanks to the corner. And yeah, Team 2 pushing back the offense.
But it looks like Team 2 are actually going to start getting a little more aggressive here, but the Baptiste Immortality's down.
Yeah, Hidden Shadow, though, will take out Devil. Will he be able to finish off any other kills? It's just the entirety of Team 2 running at this one turret, and everybody is falling one after another. The dominoes are just coming apart. And with CJ being the last to fall, we're going to see Team 2 finally have a little bit of a weak spot shown to them. Good job over to the boys and girls on 6ixGuns, pulling out some real aggressive plays and real good teamwork.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on 6ixGuns right now, you got to be feeling really good. They have a really good time going into it, and with how they've slowly just been going through each and every fight, I'm assuming that they feel pretty confident that they're going to be able to cap this with time. I'm pretty confident that they're going to be able to do that as long as Team 2 doesn't manage to pull off a wall with an accretion. But if that does happen, that's going to make it really hard.
Ooh, Don Tony is the first one to strike for his team, and nice Gravitic Flux is used. Hidden Shadow whipping out that tank mode. Very hard to deal with that as Bastion is protected by the Immortality field. With that lamp up, it's so difficult to deal with him.
Yeah, it makes it so difficult to deal with him. Now that pretty soon he's going to be having that nerf where it goes down to 200, it should be a little bit easier, but by no means is it just going to be easy to take down. It just has so much health, and if you get it behind a shield or a wall, it makes it so powerful.
Ooh, Bastion drops incredibly low, but Hidden Shadow will survive. We see Reaper actually get into the backline and drop 3 members with that Blossom. That was incredible right there. And Team 2 finds a way in and gets themselves some footing. Now it's going to be can Team 2 hold out on this defense for 3.5 minutes?
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure if they want to stick with this Bastion here. I think they're going to elect to try to stay on it a little bit longer. It does make it very hard to get back over to the point and set yourself up, especially now that they know they're still on the Bastion and they're going to be awaiting it. So how they go about that would be very interesting to see here. But it's going to be quite a hard one to take back here.
Definitely. I mean, when you're dealing with a Mei Reaper composition, there's such a low margin for error. One Blizzard secures a fight win right there. That is ultimate efficiency, Zach.
Yeah, and I mean, especially from the last fight where they used, I believe, like 3 or maybe even 4 ults, and then they just used one Blizzard there and completely took the fight win. So now the ultimates for everybody on the side of Team 2 are now slowly going up more and more. And, you know, I'm not quite sure what they're going to want to try to do here. I think that when 6ixGuns are going to be running in one more time, that PG1 is going to be using that Flux to try to displace the Bastion, but they have to make sure that they get that Immortality down in time. Otherwise, once he hits the ground, he'll just be on a low bit of health, but they won't be able to kill him.
Oh, Death with an interesting looking barrage right there, almost horizontal, but it gets the job done as we see 3 members of Team 2 are going to fall right now. Hidden Shadow is set up with that amplification matrix being used. Bortle deciding to be a little fragger and just go right at Wannabe, but Hisuya will secure that kill. And now with 2 minutes on the clock, Team 2 has secured the longer time bank, but 6ixGuns are sending a strong message right now. They just have to finish out King's Row.
Yeah, and I think Legolo might have wanted that back for the amplification matrix, using it kind of at the end there at that fight, but Legolo actually able to pick up Magic 8 Ball right at the start. No one gets on point in time.
Nobody gets to the point. And just like that, we will be going into overtime on yet another map. Very well done there by 6ixGuns, stealing away the momentum from Team 2.
Yeah, they got a lesser time bank, but not by much. Maybe half of a team fight, honestly. It's only about 30 seconds they have less. And I mean, both teams now have really good time banks. It seemed that they were very confident, both of them, in attacking. So I think right now we might see a similar attack go in from 6ixGuns, and then the defense maybe. Instead of having that hog, they're going to go back over to the Sigma, or maybe they decide to run the Bastion of their own, make it harder for them to set up. It's hard to set up against another Bastion because of how fast they're able to take it down. So see what they do here. Want to be onto the McCree, maybe, possibly.
It's an interesting answer to the Pharah, but you got to be able to put some pocketing into him to keep him alive, because that Pharah can drop him in 2-3 shots max.
Yeah, but it looks like he's going to stick with it. We're going to be seeing a McCree, something we don't get to see very often, but a very fun hero to see when they are playing that Wannabe. You know, I mean, being a hit scan player, going up against a Pharah Mercy, as long as he has the shields to cover himself and that Pharah can't put in any damage, they're going to have to start playing around walls again. They're going to have to be super conservative with it, thus leaving more space to have the defense go around and making it harder for a Bastion to go in and get set up.
And so we may be seeing the final attack that 6ixGuns gets in this series. Depends how well they're able to push into this defense. On the side of Team 2, we touched on it just now. Wannabe whipping out that McCree, gonna be the X factor on whether or not this is going to be a successful defense for them. Similar pathing though, coming out from the offense.
Yeah, and right now they're slowly rotating up into the high ground. The high ground's definitely where you want to be. But on the side of Team 2, they're making the smart decision to kind of just play in that room and make sure that they can't really get picked off or anything. They have to make them want to come down to the point before they can actually do any good damage to them. But it looks like they might just try to take the high ground and go over really fast. They use the speed boost just to jump on over.
Interesting usage of the speed boost, taking the fight directly to this Bastion, and they freeze him, but they can't get that lamp down. Hidden Shadow is able to just mow through Devil, but finally they get the lamp down, and they do take down Hidden Shadow. The res is coming through though, and it will succeed. Now with Hidden Shadow back up, this is going to be an easy fight win coming out right now from the offense. All they have to do is just keep that Bastion alive. He's setting up on the point. A little bit of an iffy amplification matrix may have been poorly used, but 6ixGuns, it looks like they're going to get themselves the first point taken here in overtime, unless a retake comes through strong.
I don't know. The Coalescence is out now. It looks like there's about 4 or 5 people on the point.
He's down, and Legola gets knocked out of his own lamp. Finally, though, it does get taken down, and the staggers, they don't come in quick enough. Legola gets dropped last. Oh my god, I can't believe it. They actually came back and held it. That was so well done by Team 2.
Yeah, I mean, Team 2 did a really good job there. They didn't just immediately go back in like, oh no, we're going to give up 1 tick or we're going to give up 2 ticks. We just need to jump in there. They waited until it was the last second, so there was more people to make that fight more even and on their side. They used the Coalescence to go in, providing that healing and damage for the team, so they were just able to make it through.
And Nick got a huge pick as his team was coming back to just ensure that the fight win was there. And this Blizzard is going to seal the deal. They have 4 key members frozen, and that's going to be the end of this offensive push for 6ixGuns. They may have gotten close, but that only works in horseshoes, my friend. And now Team 2 have their chance to seal the deal and take a 3-0 win if they can just finish out this first point on King's Row.
And I mean, they did capture a lot of percentage onto the point, so this is absolutely doable.
I think they got like 90% about?
Yeah, 90.6%. So they got really close. They almost capped it, not quite, but you're pretty much going to have to do a full cap if you want to take this win right now. So I think that on the side of defense, their Bastion play was really good. They were doing a good job with the immortalities, making sure that Bastion stays up longer and longer. So maybe they want to try to run something like that on the defense here. and have a way to maybe rotate them around, whether that's a Symmetra or maybe a Lucio. Whatever they're going to do here, we're just going to have to wait for it. But I think that would probably be the route they want to go.
And then what about the offense? Because you have 2.5 minutes. Not as much as they had on Volskaya, but you think they could still have the same mentality, just get that ulti bank rolling and just try and force their way through? Or do they need something a little more sound, a little better strategy?
I think that they're just gonna probably want to keep playing the meta. I mean, they've looked really strong on it for pretty much the entirety of this match. The only real time they'd had to make a switch was over to a Roadhog, and even then, he's still not technically, I would say, an off-meta pick. You know, he can still definitely fit in with this bunker composition. So,
Ooh,
I
look at
mean,
Wannabe.
oh yeah, looking over at Wannabe, he's on the Widow, probably just looking for try to get a quick pick and then just back off. You'll see this a lot of times. Of course, they're not going to just let themselves play in the open like that. They're going to be behind all those shields on the side of 6ixGuns. So
Unfortunate.
Yeah,
He had a
switching
moment. He had a moment to enjoy Widowmaker, and then he was back onto the Doomfist.
it didn't be like that sometimes. Speaking
It
of
really did.
Wannabe switching over to the Mei.
Finally, though, switching to that Mei. I think it's a definite better choice. Death, though, taking out CJ, halting the offense coming in right now from Team 2. And Nick, they're just going for it, actually. They said, screw it, we only have 5. We're still going to go for it. Losing another one, Wannabe does, in fact, fall, and they're still just fighting for this positioning. They have 2 tanks, a support, and a DPS. How are they going to be able to play this out?
I don't know, but it looks like Wannabe switched over to the Widow, maybe? Yep, they're going to decide to switch over to the Widow. This could really take down this Fire Mercy right now. I'm sure they aren't really expecting it. They're just trying to pick off these people who are in the backlines right now, but Death is absolutely picking them off faster than you can say, I don't know, pick. Why not? We'll just do that word.
Exactly. Why not? It's a quick word. It makes the
Yeah.
point come across, and Death picks up a 3-piece right there. This man's as ultimate already, going miles ahead of everyone else, and Wannabe just cannot make up his mind, switching around and around, finally going back to that Mei, actually. And so, nobody on the offense really close. I mean, when your Lucio is the closest to his ultimate, that's not a promising thing. He's only 50% there.
Yeah, and I mean, now that they're just playing over in this hotel, they're in an enclosed spot. They can just fire damage in there, so that way when they come out, it's just going to be more and more damage going on to them. And the Mei wall now up to kind of prevent that, but Death right now with the barrage.
Oh, that's such a good shield right there. Made Farah kill herself in her own. And they just have to the kill, and this could be the final fight if we see Team 2 play it to perfection. But Hidden Shadow doing everything he can to keep his team in this. Sebastian is repositioning to try and get any kills he can. Tank mode is just blocked off by the Mei wall. It's such a good Mei wall, and the DPS are the only ones left, and they have to pull out some kind of miracle. But I'm sorry, this is not 34th Street. This is Kings Row, my friends, and Bortle is going to do everything he can, but he gets dropped, and just like that, we will see Team 2 take a 3-0 win in the first series of the Overwatch All-Stars Brawl.
Yeah, and I mean, going into Season 3, this is the first night. You're the first 2 teams going up against each other. You definitely want to make a statement and show yourselves off, and I think that's definitely what Team 2 did here. I wouldn't say that the match was super one-sided. You could see by the score it was a 3-0, so you may think that, but really the only map I think was one-sided there was Volskaya. I think they did an amazing job on Volskaya.
And even Volskaya went to an overtime, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that what really just needed to happen there is 6ixGuns just needed to work more on that Winston, Tracer, Brig, dive variation composition and focus more on how to defend with that, because I feel like they just give up too much space with it. I feel like they need to be way more aggressive. But, you know, I mean, going into the next 2 maps, they definitely showed a little bit more of that aggression when it came down to it. But, I mean, right now it's not the meta, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Do remember that they aren't out yet. There is still the lower bracket, which they can climb their way through and make it all the way over to our finals possible.
Exactly. This is a double elimination bracket, but we need to take a moment and we need to appreciate the people that got the W. The people. Oh,
I got kicked out.
Yep, I got kicked out too. Are we back?
Yeah,
Oh.
I think we're back.
Okay, so we need to give appreciation to the people who put their blood, sweat, and tears into that victory. As I was saying, make sure you vote for your MVP of the match, everyone. Make sure you give a shout out to whoever deserves that credit, whoever put the team on their back the most and secured the victory for, I guess, Team 2. Or maybe you want to give some love to somebody on 6ixGuns. But Zach, who are you giving your MVP to for this match?
Oh man, I think that's a really tough one to say. I don't really have anybody particular in mind. I think both teams did really well. I guess if I had to pick somebody, I mean,
I'd say Wannabe.
Wannabe.
Wannabe's mine,
Yeah,
I think.
Wannabe
I think
did
Wannabe
pretty
played
good.
really well. I think Wannabe made a lot of opportunities for their team. I think they used their ultimates very well, and I think their Doomfist was just, so threatening and such a nuisance to deal with. It was always in the back line. It was always in the front line. It was always dealing some kind of damage to the enemy team and making them think about where he was. And that's what a
Yeah,
Doomfist needs to do to be successful.
definitely made it difficult for him. But I do believe that we are actually joined by someone right now on the side of Team 2, the main tank, Devil.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Appreciate you
Whoa,
guys having
what's
me.
up, Devil? How you doing?
Excited. That's something I can say right now. Definitely excited. Glad we
I'd
won.
hope so. After that win, you
Yeah.
guys killed it out there. Good job.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
So you had a 3-0, but we talked about it was a lot closer than a 3-0 Let's On. How did you feel playing in it? Did you feel it was a very close matchup, or did you think, you guys had it in the bag the whole time?
You know what? I think we had it all in the bag. Wait, all like 3 maps way through. But the thing is, they really did put up a good fight, and it did kind of get a little bit spooky there. With their Bastion comp and the Fair comp. It made us like really think about like how we wanted to engage. And yeah.
Yeah,
And
I-
You can go,
everybody
Zach.
stops. Okay. And at one point, there was the switch over first at Busan, and then it slowly happened more as the match progressed, where you actually switched over to the Hog. Was that a call made by a single player? Was that everyone like a Hog would be really good against that, or what was kind of the idea behind
Yeah, that was like on the fly moment there. I think that was a call made by everyone because once we realized that they're like running dive with the Sigma, it's really easy to like choose like a specific target you want to focus on because with the hook, when they're hooked, they can't really do much, and we're pumping free damage into what's ever hooked, and it makes it really hard for the enemy team to like properly engage on us without losing a player.
Yeah, and I mean, looking against their team comp, where it was like that Winston, Tracer, Brig, Lucio, Sig, and someone else, Lucio, Sigma. I forgot somebody in there, and I think I just said Sigma twice. But anyways, with that composition, it's kind of a weird variation of dive. I mean, do you think that's something we could see more when the buffs for those specific characters do end up coming out onto live?
I still think the main meta, with like Doomfist Reaper is still gonna be like the meta for the majority of maps, but I do think dive can have some like presence on certain maps, like maybe like Nubani first on attack, where if you just really split up the enemy team, because with this meta right now, it's kind of like a death ball. Like everyone's staying together, everyone's really grouped up to maximize everyone's, like the Moira healing orb, Lucio or Aura, Reaper. Just I think if you can get the enemy team split up with their dive they're running, I think it could be really good. Like they did do that to us during some of the maps where like they separated our backline, and we kind of had to choose, oh, do we peel for our backline or do we engage on the Sigma who's like all alone? So I think it definitely puts a twig into things, but I still think the main meta is still going to be meta for a while.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look back on it, there were plenty of times where you guys kind of outplayed that specific meta that you were talking about, or specific team comp that they were kind of running on their side, where you were kind of ready for them to engage with that, so you went around specific angles to kind of like take them out. I remember on Volskaya, especially when you were on the offense for the second time around, you knew exactly where that Doomfist was going to be, and you guys just rotated all the way up there. Was that something like, did you know that they were going to be running that immediately, or did you have to take your time to think about it when you came out?
I thought they were gonna swap as soon as they got rolled on first point, but you know what? I think it's good if like if you're a main tank player, I think it's good if you play some DPS or some like support as well as other than your main role, because it kind of gives you some insight on like how the enemy wants to play. Like, oh, where does the Doom or the Reaper want to position? Where do they want to fight? That gives them an advantage to their side. So like and since I play some DPS and support as well, like I kind of knew that their Doom was kind of looking for an off lane, because in order to win that fight, he needed to get like a pick on our Moira to start off the fight, because we're just rolling through with ults. There's no way they're gonna win that head on if they swap to like standard comp,
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
you guys did a really good job today noticing stuff like that. Beanies, you got any more questions?
Yeah, I got one. I want Devil. I want your opinion. So I'm looking at the leaderboards of NA solo queue right now. The top 2 supports in NA's most played hero is Brig. You saw Brig today. What's so special about Brig? Can you tell me? I'm trying to figure it out.
You know what? I think Brig has her certain like special abilities. Like, since Brig has a stun that could counter their Doomfist, and she gets like melee damage, which is a really what this main meta is all about, like staying together. She does get a lot of value from like Inspire and even a whip shot as well, because if their enemy train is trying to like speed onto you, whip shot, like one whip shot on like their main tank, for example, like if you whip shot their Orisa back once you play shield, their Orisa can't really engage without her shield, and that can kind of like throw like a wrench into their plans. But I do think the main meta is still the best right now.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you for appeasing me with my question.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Well,
All right.
I think
Anyway,
that's it.
congrats
Yeah.
on your match. That's what we're gonna call it there.
All right, thanks for having me,
you have
guys.
a good one.
Appreciate
Good
it.
luck in your next match.
Yeah,
Yep, you
hope
have a
guys
good night, my man.
Yeah, hope you guys have a good night as well.
Thank you.
Peace out.
Woo. So there we have it.
That was a pretty intense match, especially coming up there at the end with the King's Row. I was really close. I wasn't quite sure if they were going to be able to cap it, but then they just kind of really showed up there at the end. It just kind of plowed right through them and just dissected them. I think one of the issues there might have been that they lost their Pharah so early, and when the Mercy went for the res, they were unfortunately taken out, and then the Pharah was left all alone, and then it was just kind of an unfortunate series of hits. But
yeah, when Far's
end,
left
good
alone,
job.
she's not very scary at all.
Yeah, not the scariest hero, but I mean they did a really good job today on both sides. I mean, when you're looking over at 6ixGuns, they are playing that off meta composition, probably in hopes of it being something valued when it comes live from the PTR. So I wouldn't be surprised with that. They looked like they were doing really good on it for the times they did. So I mean, they could possibly do a lot with that once that comes live. But right now, Team 2 just seems like they're way better at the current meta, and they're going to be progressing through the tournament here.
Yeah, they will. And so, Team 2, one step closer to getting that sweet $400 cash prize that we're all playing for. Tomorrow, though, we're going to be getting into our next set of matches where we will be seeing 2 more teams battle it out to get their way to that sweet cash prize. We're going to be taking a look at Citizens and 7 Kings tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. So do you want to come back to this channel and get back for more of the Overwatch All-Star Brawl Season number 3?
Yeah, but let's not forget tonight's MVP. You guys voted in the Twitch chat. Today's MVP is none other than Team 2's DPS, Nick. Nick really showing up there on the Reaper. Really good blossoms. There were multiple times that they were able to get 3 or more with that. I mean, you know, a Death Blossom could be really hard to use when there's the Doomfist stun and the Accretion coming your way. So getting a lot of value out of that could be really, really good.
Yeah, and it's so difficult to play Reaper sometimes when you have all these different threats and you have to get so close. And when you're able to really find effectiveness, not only in your you know, casual play, you know, just you dealing with your basic abilities, but also using your ultimate, using that Death Blossom. He was able to pick up multiple kills with that. And that ultimate is so hard to secure kills with because of how long it takes to use and put out that damage. So it really shows how practiced Nick is on that hero and how well he understands the limitations of Reaper. So good job to him. Kudos to him.
Absolutely. And I believe that's where we're going to end the stream here. I've been Porzak, your color caster. You can find me on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all at Porzak. It's a pretty staple thing for me now. And I'm sure Beanies has plenty of things you can go find him on.
Yeah, I'm just Beanies ENT on everything. Any social you can think of right now, I'm on it. Beanies ENT. Find me there, talk to me, listen to me talk over some other games sometime, and come back to Star Esports to stay up with all the action we have going on for you guys this month.
Don't forget to follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. You're able to do it, so might as well. You know what I mean? Support that tier 3 community, show your love, make sure these players know that it is all from naught, and you're able to give them your support and help them in their future ventures. Anyways, thank you for watching. We will see you tomorrow.